Hi everyone, I am Sam Roach-Gerber. I am the Vice President at Vermont Center for Emerging Technologies, and I am at Local Maverick for the inaugural Making Mavericks. With me is Ryan, the founder of Local Maverick. Hello, Ryan.
Hello, Sam.
Thanks for inviting me to do this.
Yeah, thanks for being here. We're really excited to have you.
Heck yeah, this is going to be fun. I'm going to start out with a really fun question for you.
Okay.
I'm a little scared, but I think it's going to go well.
Sure, I'm now even more scared myself.
Tell me about young Ryan.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is scary. Let's see. Young Ryan was pretty much who I am today, just a little more smooth-brained. So what I mean by that is definitely outgoing. Growing up, I was more focused on building connections with people and relationships versus any of my schoolwork. So I think growing up, I definitely did not understand the importance of studying, being engaged within, my work, community, etc. So yeah, I think young Ryan was definitely someone who just wanted to get out there, be himself, make people laugh, even if it didn't work, the whole laughter thing. So yeah, I think it was just the person just running around trying to build connections and not really caring or thinking about anything in the world.
Just a little social butterfly.
Yeah.
And did you come from an entrepreneurial household? Were your parents entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so my grandfather was an entrepreneur. So he built, long story short there, he was displaced when he was 16 years old, and he ended up really making his own path. And so he created his own construction company out in the Middle East. And so I always looked up and idolized him. So that was definitely a big influence growing up. There was a family business. And then my dad, he took a little bit of a different path, but growing up, he owned his own retail shop. It was called Dada. So it was a kitchenware company in Middlebury. So he went to UVM. He came from London randomly to Vermont, went to UVM, and then, yeah, he started his own business, and then him and my uncle had a few ventures as well together, trying out different things in different businesses. So, yeah, growing up, I was exposed to that entrepreneurial spirit and the idea of just kind of testing things out and going for it if you're passionate about it. And so, yeah.
That's awesome. I can tell, certain people have that ability to take risks, and you're one of those people. And I think it seems to me like your experience from your grandfather and your father, why not, right?
Yeah.
And that mixed with a little social butterfly, recipe for success.
I'm sure some people could tell you why not, but yes, yeah, exactly. It was definitely, I'm lucky because I come from a family that is really supportive, and I have that support system where I'm able to take those risks. So it is not lost on me that I'm definitely in a position that is better, I would say, than a lot of people, because, yeah, I think, the family background and then having people that are there to support you when you take on these massive challenges that, really high likelihood will not work, but you have to try anyway.
High risk, high reward,
exactly,
right?
Yeah.
So it sounds like, ingrained in you was you have the ability to help people, right? And start something that a lot of other people can't. And I think that kind of touches on why you started the company. So can you talk to me a little bit about those early days of before starting Local Maverick, sort of what was sort of brewing and what made you kind of inspired you to start the company?
Yeah, so I would say, again, with my background and growing up not really being focused so much on the work and how you had to, again, really put yourself out there, educate yourself, understand, as much as you possibly can. But that relationship piece, I think, was the start of me being able to grow up with a relatively diverse family and being able to have a lot of different experiences. So on one side of my family, they're from the Middle East, so it's very family-oriented. There's people from everywhere. They lived in Lebanon, Libya. They're from Palestine. They then moved to London. So I was able to travel different parts of Europe growing up just for different family members. And then on the other side, there's a few generations of my family that lived in Vermont, where, you know, they didn't travel or get out as much just due to their own circumstances. So I think just from the beginning, and I was born in Washington, D.C. actually before my parents moved back to Vermont. So I had different people that took care of me, from my Arab grandmother to my babysitter was Indian. And so I think all of these different experiences and being exposed to a lot of people really shaped my identity and I don't know if I want to call it the ability, but just that excitement for different perspectives and the excitement to build relationships with people that come from all different backgrounds and paths. So how that kind of then, so that's where it started brewing of, oh, you know, like there are so many amazing people in the world, and all these different perspectives bring forth so many different ideas, and whether it's products or food and drink. So that kind of launched me into, oh, well, you know, I've been fortunate enough, like I said, to have a really strong family connection and support system. So everyone in my family, you know, the values instilled of hard work, you know, trying to care for other people. I really wanted to figure out a way through work and through my life to be able to help people in whatever form that came. So again, I think comedy, joy, just trying to make things more enjoyable for people has always been something I've been really interested in and passionate about. So being able to then all of the, just I guess the social aspect of what I have grown up being interested in, then that led into me becoming more interested from an academic standpoint. So being able to, I went to Northeastern University. I got to do
Go Huskies.
Go Huskies, another alum here. So I was able to then again be exposed to a lot of different people, but who were way smarter than me. So I was like, oh, wow, okay, I should probably start trying here. And then being able to get more experiences through university, again, from an academic standpoint. So being really interested in international business, but I also went down, half of my studies were in international business and marketing, and then the other half were in early childhood development psychology. So I was really interested again in working with children or people with behavioral challenges, you know, people that maybe aren't neurotypical. So being able to, again, take both of those interests and try to merge them into a way of then what came to be Local Maverick, of just trying to create a platform that can unite people through some sort of sense of community. It just happens to be that then that focus more on, you know, food and product and marketing. So I don't want to keep rambling on too much, but I don't know if that answers your
totally.
question.
No, I think so. I think it's, you know, it's, there is a certain something in you when you want to start something, right? Mm-hmm. I don't have it. You have it, right? And I think
everyone has it. It's somewhere, right?
Maybe, but I think, you know, it's compelling to hear about your, you know, sort of foundation and the way you look at the world and what your goal is, and how you sort of dreamt up a business that kind of brought that together and turned your passion into something that, you know, is now your profession. So I just always like to touch on that, because I think it's important for other people that want to start businesses of, you know, what am I good at? What comes naturally to me? And I think for you, it's making connections. And I think anyone that's met you knows that is one of your biggest strengths, is just connecting people, right? So tell me about Local Maverick today. Just tell us what it is.
Yeah, so Local Maverick is a retail events and marketing platform to support small Vermont businesses. So primarily we focus on small food and drink producers with a little bit of wellness and some, we say art and craft, but again, so artists and artisans. So the idea is that we have this platform that makes it easy, we say discover, shop, and experience. So through the discovery lens, my background then for my professional career is in business development and marketing. So really being able to have that storytelling lens of making sure that people, you know, we create more awareness and having that content and the promotion of you're discovering these amazing people that you've maybe never heard of. And then the shopping component, we have what's called Maverick Market. So it's a curated marketplace for quality Vermont products. So that's the idea of, okay, then you can see it. And then now, oh, like I actually want to purchase it. So we have that avenue for people to shop and try new things. And then from the experiential standpoint, that really ties in a lot into the events, but also a little bit of shopping where we do tastings. We have everything from markets to these style events, which, trying to highlight different people, entrepreneurs, businesses, and again, just really have people experience these amazing people and products firsthand.
And why is the storytelling piece of commerce important?
I think that again, this is something I'm biased towards, just given everything I said from my background and believing in the importance of connection. But I think as we move forward, and we've had trends from everything from e-commerce, and then there's AR, VR, we talk about the metaverse, all these different tools and technologies that have advanced in the last 20 years at the core of everything, it is still what you feel like you connect to. Regardless of that, if that is positive or negative, we are still social beings and we're still social creatures. So we are still in a way tribal where we want to interact with people or products or businesses that we feel like say something, about ourselves. So I think that even we've seen the trends of everyone's talking about you want to be more community-based or you want to be, more aligned with some sort of values. But I do think that, again, that everything can be distilled down into a trend, but at the core, commerce has always been about like what does this mean to you and what is the value that this brings. So I think that for what we're doing, and I see the importance of storytelling, is we need to build better human connections through business. So not only impacts the world, but also it's helpful. That's how you sell a product. If someone says, oh, I understand what you're saying, I get that, I feel that, and I want to purchase it. Mm-hmm.
So there's an online component, and then in person, there's your storefront and events as well.
Yes.
Yep. So can you walk us through, just use one of the companies that you've worked with from the beginning maybe, and tell us about that company, why they came to you, and what sort of problems you're solving for them.
Sure. Let's see. There are so many amazing companies. Well, I like to use Alex from Vermont Marshmallow Company. Because when we
so good,
unbelievable.
I didn't even like marshmallows until I started having Alex's marshmallows.
Exactly,
yeah.
And that was always like the pitch to start for me. I'd be trying to sell it to someone and say, "Hey, look, I actually don't even like marshmallows, but these are amazing."
That's the sales biz dev background.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Like just say how much you dislike a product and then sell it. But it's true, and so Alex has been really amazing because when we first tried to launch this, crazy idea a few years ago. She was one of 5 businesses. So we started with, again, like I said, we started just focusing on food and drink and trying to help these really small producers, farmers, entrepreneurs. So we partnered with the Burlington Farmers Market. And Alex was one of 5 businesses that came on board. And through our conversations, what she saw, the value of what we were trying to do is, again, that content creation, that storytelling, another avenue to help create content. Where we did a photo shoot in, when was that? I think it was August 2020. And she was able to utilize the content from that photo shoot. So we partnered with a really amazing photographer, Karen McKee, where we, again, just wanted to focus on elevating that local experience through storytelling. So he took some amazing pictures that we were then able to utilize through our channels. But just even from one simple aspect of, she told me once, hey, this has been great because now I have this content for, months. Like I'm able to utilize this where, we still utilize some of those pictures today of the process and just seeing again, it's like almost like a visceral reaction when you see those trays of the marshmallows and how she's slicing them. And then when they come up and the powder going everywhere, it's like
satisfying.
Yeah, it's like, oh my goodness, those are amazing. So yeah, the content aspect, and then also, she comes from a marketing background as well, so just understanding the importance of testing new ideas and just trying to get in front of as many people as possible. So again, I think that value of then, even though it was really small to start, and even though we were only doing a few orders, we brought in a few people through our network that then started buying buying marshmallows directly from her, and then over time, those people told their friends who told their friends, and it really grew from there. So I think that that's been someone then that has helped us as we've grown, as well as she's grown her business, still making sure that she's collaborating with us from an event standpoint, of being able to get in front of people. So that's been a really nice collaboration that we are still working with actually all 5 of the businesses that we started in August 2020, and when we really launched was September. But so yeah, the content, storytelling, and then creating that whole ecosystem of sales, marketing, and events. So just seeing the value of how it all comes together.
That's amazing that all 5 are still engaged. That's huge. And so can you talk a little bit about why having all of those components together is important, especially for maybe a solopreneur who's just starting out?
Yeah. So the way that we see it is that when you're starting out, there's like just so many things you need to consider, like things that you never wanted to consider, myself included. Like, oh, you need to register an LLC. Well, how the hell do I register an LLC? Like, what does that even mean? Oh, and then you have to get your business insurance. Like, what? Oh, now I have to pay for business insurance and have to make sure I make the monthly payments. So there are so many things that people do not see that go into making a business. And then for all these businesses that we're working with, they're physically making a product. So the amount of time that goes into that. So I think that for us, we were saying, okay, we want to be able to offload some of those challenges that come when you start a business. So you focus on doing what you're really good at, and then we want to try to focus on what we're good at, again, from storytelling, business development, marketing. So I think that whole ecosystem, although sometimes it's like, oh, you're trying to do too much at once, it is so vital to have that whole, I guess, like, some people, HubSpot has like flywheel or sales funnel, whatever you want to call it. It is important to be able to not only have that amazing product, but then make sure that people discover it. So we wanted to try and make sure that people could discover it. Oh, okay, but now that I've discovered it, I also want to buy it. We want to make it easy for people to buy things in multiple places. And then again, from an event standpoint, we realized that so many of these businesses, it's not even about not having the expertise or the know-how, but it's time. So we wanted to be able to share some of that time and that resource to, again, really help them from that whole sales pipeline that then one day we hope that they grow. So if we're featuring them in our space today, in a few years, we hope that then we were just helping them really as a customer acquisition tool so that then they could grow their business and then they have their own location and then maybe we still collaborate, but we don't want to necessarily be from a sales and awareness standpoint. We don't want to be a necessity forever for them. We want them to outgrow us in a way.
In that way, it's almost like an incubator for these small starting companies. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And so the company's been around for a few years now.
Yes.
Tell me about what hasn't worked.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I don't know if we have all the time that we need for that. I think because, like I said, I guess I could describe myself sometimes as loosey-goosey, trusting. Like I'm like, let's do it. Let's try it. Let's make it happen. And I have really tried to build a collaborative environment and trying to work with people in a way that let's just do that. Let's do this together. I think what I've noticed is, and what I've realized that hadn't been working is I was not organized enough. So I think organization is so important for everyone in life, but especially for business. And I'll use an example. A lot of the markets did not work well because I didn't set clear expectations.
You mean like a farmer's market?
Like, yeah, thank you. Yeah. Let's say, similar to a farmer's market. So we would have events that, we tried to get multiple makers and farms and producers together. So again, kind of sharing the whole aspect of sharing resources where we all grow together. Mm-hmm. But what didn't work is, one, not setting those expectations of what we were expecting from the businesses, and then trying to do, a revenue share program, but not really explaining what that revenue share program would look like on the back end, and then having to follow up with each individual business. And so we realized that we needed to be more organized on our end, set clearer expectations, and because we were almost creating more work for some of the businesses. Again, if it was, hey, you're going to pay $20 at this event if you make under 500. And then if you make between 500 and 1,000, it's $50. And then if you make over 1,000, it's $100. And that added step of reporting the sales, and then we just didn't have, all the businesses involved did not have the infrastructure to do an agreement like that because, again, it's all these businesses are typically one, maybe two people trying to operate it. So we were adding too many steps to the process. So that was definitely something that we realized, and I realized did not work, that did not go well. And then also trying to do events when you're not super organized and without a budget, I would not recommend that. So I think that what didn't work is thinking that people would just be interested in what we're doing because it does help the community and it is something that we're like, oh, we are going to be collaborative and we'll help people. But again, we're all human beings, and again, we need to be organized. We have limited time. So to think that we're just going to create, and this is where it's almost like contradicting from my background too, and being in marketing, and I was like, oh, we're going to tell this story, but we just expect people to hear it and know it and show up. And that is really silly. So I just use those markets as an example of they were undercapitalized and they were not disorganized, but they were not set up properly. So that didn't work very well. And so I think a lot of trial and error, but just trying to do another thing is trying to take on too many projects.
Yeah.
Again, being undercapitalized. I think that any entrepreneur, business owner just needs to be really careful where they put their time and attention. So I think that that's something that those first few years, it was testing out all these different, so it was marketing services. Oh, okay, there's events. Oh, okay, there's shopping. But those were, as I said, I think it's very important to have that full ecosystem so they work together. But trying to make those completely separate, they're almost like separate entities, was a really bad idea. And that did not work because then my time and then a few people that would come and help, everyone's time was bifurcated in a way that is just not sustainable.
Totally.
Again, without having the resources to put it into all those areas. So
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you're obviously very risk tolerant as a founder, which some founders are more risk averse, and I think both of those types of founders can learn something from the other. When you are saying yes to stuff and experimenting, how do you balance that with your business model and your financial goals, and like how do you make sure that you're staying on track there? And supporting the Alexes of the world and the ideas that come about from people that you're working with.
Yeah, we don't. No, I think that I do think it's important to have a time period where, and I think if I would go back and do it a little bit differently, I think it's important to, like you said, kind of have that balance of you need to be okay with taking a risk. I mean, if you want to make any progress or do any change in the world, like you can't, if you're going through the status quo, that just won't work. But on the flip side, I think everyone talks about like calculated risks. And I do think that there is something to that, to your point of you need to take a risk, but you need to also mitigate it in some ways and have kind of like bumpers, right? If we use bowling as an example of, take the ball and just throw it down the lane. But let's at least make sure there's some bumpers so that, you're just not throwing it right in the gutter.
Totally.
Because I think that's definitely something that I did to start was I threw the ball in the gutter quite a bit, which is okay. And it's a learning process. But what was the question? No, just so like how do you balance helping, essentially for what I would look at it as helping people with making sure that's financially viable?
Yeah.
I think it's being organized, it's setting those clear expectations, and then I think goal setting is really important.
Yeah.
Because from that start of when we're throwing the bowling ball down the lane, just into the gutter at times, sometimes we get a strike, but then other times we had this overarching vision and a long-term goal, but we didn't set those realistic short-term goals, which I think someone who is less risk averse is better at than me. So I think in that middle of, all right, it's very important to set that goal of this is what we want to do in 3 to 5 years, or like this is a vision, right? This is what we want to build. But you have to make sure, I think that, 30, 60, 90-day goals and being able to make sure that you outline the whole process of what you're trying to build, and then having a really good business plan is very important.
Yeah.
So nothing is going to go to plan. That's not how life works. I mean, I think the conversation before COVID and after COVID, like no one anticipated or expected COVID. So no one knows what's going to happen.
Right.
But yeah, having those guardrails are super important because I think, again, just using myself as an example that hopefully people can learn from, there was a lot of money and time and resources wasted because I didn't put those guardrails up. And then you can't help people. You can't help the Alexes of the world if you don't have any money or finances to put back into the community to
Right.
build what you're doing. So I think making sure that you have clear goals, set expectations, and just if you can't do it, find someone who can create a budget for you.
Yeah.
So that's where now as we move forward, I'm fortunate to there are so many amazing resources in the community, especially in Vermont. But ask people, don't be scared to ask questions, and don't be scared to put yourself out there to test an idea or speak about an idea before you maybe go all in.
And I think that's great advice. And I think one of the things that you're particularly good at is like when you do take a risk and it doesn't go well, you do a post-mortem on it, right? Like you look at it and you're just like, what could I have done differently? What should I do differently next time? And, things have evolved in the right direction because of that. So I think all of us are, sometimes afraid of failure or like, don't like, visiting failures that we've had, but it's important, right? To learn. One of the things you're also particularly good at, and I'm being like way too nice to you.
Yeah,
this is like the last thing I'm going to say that you're good at, and then we'll like really get ugly.
So the background is that Sam is usually really mean to me. So
yeah, it's why this works,
yeah.
right? If you want to be a good business advisor and investor, you tell it to them straight. So partnerships.
Yes.
You're very good at partnerships. You've had some not so great partnerships. I think we all have, right? So what makes a good partnership and what makes a bad partnership? If you want to focus on the good, maybe that's a more optimistic angle.
Again, laundry lists of all these Vermont businesses that are terrible. No.
And it's just like on the screen.
Yeah, it's going to be rolling right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, yes, partnerships, and really, again, since our platform is built on this idea of working collaboratively and kind of, everyone rising together. So partnerships are vital. So when I was talking about from a financial standpoint and things that are undercapitalized, I think that first, a good partnership is something that you both have mutual respect for each other's businesses. Excuse me. And also then being able to make sure that you have mutual value. So we'll take really quick example of sponsorships where that's a way that we've learned to monetize the business through. But I've seen so many people like, oh, we're holding this event and it is good for the community, but we're going to put your logo on this event and we want $5,000. That's not necessarily mutual value. So I think making sure that what you're doing creates value for that partner that you're working with, and then again, just the mutual respect, making sure that everyone is aligned, and then making sure that what we've learned over time is that there are clear expectations. So making sure that your partner knows what you're doing together, and then those clear deliverables are really vital to a successful partnership. And I think some of we could call them bad partnerships, but I don't think that there was anything where it was like, oh, like we don't like each other. It was that the expectations and then the deliverables were not clear. So that's where we've learned like paperwork, agreements. Agreements are really important when it comes to developing a really strong partnership. And then again, making sure that each person is able to fill a gap that the other one needs.
Yeah, and I think, just like with all other failures, a failed partnership is there's so many lessons in there, right? It's like, oh, I should have gone with my gut feeling on this, or, oh, I clearly didn't prepare enough, or the language wasn't clear enough, or whatever. We can learn so much from that. Similar kind of vein, but talk to me a little bit about events. Events are a big part of your business. I think it's one of your passions, bringing people together in person. What makes for a good event?
Ooh, yeah, that's a tough one. So events, like I always joke about, are like the worst thing in the world and the best thing in the world all wrapped into one. So events are really hard. And I think that people don't see how much goes into even the most simple event. So having that understanding and awareness is just something that most people don't have. So I think that a good event is one that, again, we'll all bring it back to, but from our lens and what we're trying to do, is a good event is something that you've built a positive connection with someone else through. So the whole goal with events if we're taking our 3 lenses of discover, shop, experience, being able to have that positive experience. So events are a really great tool to actually have that one-on-one relationship with someone that sometimes can go beyond the brand or the product, but just really making sure that any event that you're having, setting that goal of, okay, what is the action that you want that person to take once the event is over? And then a good event is something that is very well organized. So every event is so different, but I think if we're just keeping it high level, yeah, something that at the end of it, people walk away and say, hey, I had a really positive experience with that brand. And that's why, especially when we're looking at the level of business that we're at and all these other businesses that we're working with, every single customer and every single relationship is so important. So if you have an event that you make a really great connection and you provide a really great experience to even one person, and like we said, that person then tells their friends or they come back, and understanding the lifetime value of a customer is really important. But also what makes a good event is one that doesn't lose a lot of money. So making sure that, again, you budget and you set realistic goals, because a lot of times, and I'm guilty of this, you have this vision for this event and you want to create this amazing experience, but then you put too much on your plate. So just not overextending yourself for an event that people show up and they're expecting X, Y, Z, and then you only have X, and that doesn't work.
Do you think it's better to do like the same type of event reoccurring, or constantly new events?
Yeah, I guess it's tricky because it is a little bit situational depending on the business that you have. So I would say consistency is always really key, especially when you're trying to build a brand and build a relationship. That's why people still will advertise on TV or now through different streaming services, and it's that same ad over and over and over and over again, because we do need to see something multiple times before we are actually aware of it or then connect it with other parts of our life. So I think that it's important at the beginning to diversify your events, to have different experiences, to try and understand what does work and what works for your brand or your company. But you need to make sure that there is some consistency within it. So it's not that you necessarily have to have the same exact event over and over and over, but people need to go to that event, and when they show up, they need to know that that's your event. So I think that's where it is different depending on the company or the business. But now when you go to, I'll use, I guess, the example of, we definitely try to diversify the events that we're doing because we have such a broad range of partners and businesses that we work with. But at the core of what we're doing, it's supporting small, quality, local businesses. And, right now it's only Vermont businesses. So if you showed up to one of our event and we were featuring, like Best Buy, like, nothing against Best Buy, but that just wouldn't make any sense.
Right.
Like that's where, even if we were doing a speaker series and it was the same event over and over and over, but then it was like big Best Buy logo on the screen here, unless they gave us a lot of money. No. So that, I guess that's where the consistency versus diversity, it still has to be the same core values of what you do through your business, and it still has to be that same brand experience, if that makes sense.
And connecting with your attendees, right?
Like, right, 100%.
Yeah, like tuning into, did you like this? Do you want more of it?
Right.
Like, sometimes we forget to do that,
yes.
Especially in person, and it's so important.
Yeah, and I think to that point, one, just from the start, any event you have to start with the question of who is it for?
Right.
You can't make something for everyone. It's just not possible. Again, everyone is so different. We have different interests, different ideas, whatever it may be. So then to your point, okay, like, who is it for? And then after that event, especially if it's something that's concurrent or happening over and over, it's hard to get people to do surveys. But I think even having those conversations, or anytime you can get feedback from an event to optimize it and make it better, is really crucial. So that's a really good point of, like, get as much data as you can on what you're doing.
And anecdotal stuff's fine too, right?
Totally,
people that email you the next day and say it was amazing, or
and then only listen to that. If they say it's bad, just ignore it.
Just delete it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I think that's really important, especially like making sure, I like that you said, like, what is the point of this event? What are you trying to get from it? Because that will help tie into your digital presence as well, which is really important for small companies too. Yeah. At one point you put some brain power, energy, effort, money into potentially opening a commercial kitchen space.
Yes, I did.
Is that still on your radar? Because I know there's
Absolutely.
a huge need in the community. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so if we, again, because people are like, oh, kitchen and store, but if I keep using the word ecosystem, I keep doing this with my hands. It's a circle. But again, having that whole experience from an incubation standpoint, having someone discover something and then having someone be able to actually purchase that product. Well, what we discovered even in the first few months of running something where I said, oh, we want to get more product into more people's hands. So the whole goal is to get people who are maybe not shopping locally as much, or get people to find these products that they've never heard of. So again, at the core of what we're doing, customer acquisition tool. But then I realized, after speaking to so many different people, it was like, oh, this is great, but even if I have 10,000 customers, I can't produce that. I don't have the kitchen space to be able to actually keep up with that demand. So I said, oh, interesting. Okay, kitchens. What are those? So then I took about a year diving into trying to develop a commercial kitchen space. Again, because being able to provide that whole incubation of a company and anyone within the small food and drink standpoint, there's a huge shortage of commercial kitchens. So without the ability to scale your business, and I think something that has been really interesting to learn is when you are a home baker or chef or whatever it may be, if you're producing something from your home, one, there are a lot of challenges or hurdles that and a lot of times you technically can't sell to wholesale accounts. So that's a huge challenge, right? You can sell direct to your customer, your consumer, but if you want to grow and start getting into healthy livings or city market, you need a commercial kitchen.
Yeah.
And so commercial kitchens are extremely expensive to build, but they're also extremely hard to find in this area. So yeah, we spent a long time, and it's something that's definitely still on my radar and trying to figure out, okay, are there ways to create maybe a shared food truck or shared food cart or something, because this whole ecosystem, and then that impacts the farms that we're working with. So we try to focus on working with farms that have regenerative practices and that are more environmentally sustainable and resilient. But we can't help those farms if then the add value products that are financially viable, if there's not the commercial kitchens to grow, then it doesn't matter if we have 10,000 people coming to the event if we don't have enough products to give to them.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So investors listening.
Still
interested. Okay.
Yes.
Still on the back burner.
Yeah. 100%.
Awesome. Yeah. I hear from food producers all the time that they're looking for commercial kitchen space, and I think it's a lot of upfront cost, and it's hard to prove it out and get that capital, and it's risky, but there's a huge need. So hopefully,
we'll see. And just
happen.
To put a number behind it, I mean, when we were working on this, there were over and this was primarily through 2021 in the winter through fall, spring 2022. And there were over 100 businesses just in Vermont that we were speaking with that needed a commercial kitchen now. So that demand is so huge.
Wow.
Again, like you said, it's a huge upfront cost, and it doesn't mean that every single business is going to be able to scale and grow. But yeah, it will always be a need, and that's something that every single market outside of Vermont that's similar, like markets in Maine or in like a Roanoke, Virginia or Michigan, they all have these really robust commissary kitchens.
Yeah.
And Vermont is one of the only places that there are amazing resources. I think it is important to note Richmond Community Kitchen is an awesome resource. Obviously, out in Hardwick, the Hardwick Center for Agriculture, amazing resource, but there's still a lot of shortcomings with the system of being able to provide these commissary kitchens that also provide, again, what we wanted to fold into it are the marketing services and the retail component, and really being able to help you take that next step to grow your business. Yeah,
it's awesome. I hope it'll happen.
It will.
All right, great.
It will happen.
Okay, great.
2029.
I'll be there. We'll do another episode.
Yeah.
Cool.
The after.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So one of the things I want to talk to you about, you have a physical location. We're there now in downtown Burlington. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. There has been a lot of talk lately from, OGE, Hen of the Wood. There's multiple businesses that have spoken publicly about sort of the climate of what it's like to be a business in downtown Burlington right now, and how challenging it is. Can you just give your perspective on that, and like maybe how,
Oh boy.
maybe how, folks that are listening, people that live in the area, businesses in the area, what they can do to kind of help support the ecosystem, especially as we go into a new year?
Yeah, I think it's a really, everything is simple but also complicated. So the challenges that we're facing.
We can stick with the simple if you want.
Sure.
Yeah.
The simple, I think, just try. I'm someone, again, before I started, I like to use myself as an example to like put down a little bit so people don't think that, I'm bashing them. But before starting this business, like I said, I was born in Washington, D.C., but I grew up in Vermont. But I had no connection with the local community. I did not know what businesses existed, and I did not shop every weekend. I was going to Boston or Montreal or New York City because I was like, oh, there's nothing here, right? That's kind of a perception that's built into our minds. So I think something really simple is just take the time to actually look for what's going on in your community. And downtown specifically, I think there's a huge opportunity, regardless of the challenges, and a lot of people have safety concerns, and a lot of businesses are talking about leaving. But I think also what it comes down to is just take the time to even get off the computer a little bit, and just go downtown, go into the stores, and just shop as much as you can. Because I think people will be really surprised at what the offerings are if they take the time to. So I think that what can be really helpful is just making the time to try and look at what's happening in your own community. Again, totally guilty of not doing that 3 years ago. And so I think it's pretty eye-opening to see like how many amazing things are going on. And then from a safety standpoint, that's something that you have to ask the mayor of Burlington. No, I don't know. It's challenging. We're different because of how we're positioned. Our retail is not facing the street, so we don't have window frontage, which from a retail perspective is not great. But then also from the flip side of that, so our challenges are a little bit different from some of the challenges that people have, and the way that we operate. But it's I think you can help by just going into the stores and then discovering them, and then also a lot of them have online options. So shopping online locally too is also great, because so many of the stores and places will ship directly or will deliver, and there are new services coming out that are trying to help with that too. So.
And I think sharing about those experiences too, right? I know, like I follow my friends on Instagram, and when I see someone that went to a local shop and got something cool, like I want to go there. And I think that's just a small thing we can all do. That's so easy, something we're already doing, sharing stuff on social media, and do that for some of the local businesses as well. Yeah,
I think that's a great point. And again, because everything is still relationship based, and word of mouth is always going to be the most powerful marketing tool, no matter what realm of the universe we're in. So I think, don't underestimate the power of that social sharing. Yeah, so you're right.
Totally.
I think that's huge. So just take time. Doesn't matter. It could be a terrible picture. Take a shitty photo, but just share it and tag that business.
Put a little location in there.
Yeah.
Totally.
Easy.
We'll take what we can get.
Totally.
What, since starting Local Maverick, has surprised you most? Mm-hmm. What were you not expecting?
Most things. But I think from a positive standpoint, just the amazing people that exist. Like I said before, I was not as engaged. We
met and we're best friends now. So.
Best is a strong word, but.
This is uncomfortable.
It's okay. We'll edit this part out. Cut. So, no, but seriously, I had never heard of VSET. Yeah. Which is an amazing resource for anyone who's trying to start a business. But beyond that, you are an amazing person. You're super supportive. But there are so many people that are even better than you. But no, there are so many people in the community like you that, again, when you're just not paying attention or not looking for that, you may not see.
Right.
So I think that's been the biggest surprise. 95%, that's not an exact number by any means, but
we won't do our homework here.
Pretty much every single business that we're working with, I had never heard of. And we've now, over the last 3 years, I've worked with over 250 businesses in some capacity. So that was the biggest surprise. If I knew that there were things that I was missing, I just didn't know how much. So I think that abundance of amazing human connection, products, services, there's just so many amazing things that are right in your backyard that we miss. So I'd say there are a lot of things that surprised me, but like, having to pay your taxes on a quarterly basis, that was surprising when I got that letter in the mail of like, you owe all this money. I was like, I thought we just filed taxes annually.
TurboTax doesn't cut it.
No.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really the people. And I don't want to keep just saying, oh, it's people, but it is. And that's why we exist. And that's why, because it's about elevating all these amazing people that still a lot of people have maybe never seen or interacted with.
Little Ryan would be so proud of you.
Sure. I think he would. Little Ryan would be like, you're a little boring now, though. I've gotten maybe...
Well, you've talked a lot about organizing.
Yeah.
And I think he'd be pretty bummed about that.
Yeah. He's like, dude, like, why? Just like,
just
go
wing
out.
it.
Yeah,
it's
just
gonna
wing
be fine.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. So, but yeah.
He's a good kid. Still is.
He was a good kid. And they got too serious. Like, oh, I got to focus on my finances. Boring.
So boring. But important. That's why I'm here.
Yeah. Very important.
A couple last questions.
Okay, I love a couple last questions.
Okay. I'm not ready to just give you one. I need a couple more.
Okay, sure.
We're going to wind
one
down.
A, B, C, D.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a 6-parter.
Mm-hmm.
A year from now.
Yes.
What does Local Maverick look like? I was buying you some time with that pause.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Doesn't exist. No, I'm just kidding. No, a year from now, I think, so some exciting projects that we're working on. We're working on a partnership with a hotel that's in Burlington, and then we're also working with the Burlington Airport. So again, to keep talking about this ecosystem concept, I think a year from now, we continue to find ways to develop partnerships that allow us to expand our physical footprint, that then allow us to expand that reach through, again, the discovery aspect, and then eventually through the events and the through the content creation standpoint and lens. So a year from now, I think we have more brick and mortar setups, but again, through more partnerships that are also going to help benefit the whole ecosystem of not only our businesses, but the Vermont economy as a whole.
Mm-hmm. And does that change the profile of your customer? Or is that just expanding?
No, I think it's just making it easier to reach the customers that we have, or the type of customers that want to engage with us. So I think just making it more accessible. So yeah, in a year from now, I think it's just even easier to, because like I said, this physical location, when people come in, and it was designed by a local designer, Meredith Lecomte, who is awesome. But when people come in, they really do, I think, feel a sense of community, and that's been really amazing. It's really to no credit of mine. It's just all these amazing people that have the products and
played
built,
a small role.
Small,
yeah,
very small. Like we have a mural that you can't see, unless you would look over there if the camera swung. But we have a mural from Phoebe Lowe, an amazing local artist. So. Yeah, I just think that
big fan.
Yeah, yeah. Former VSET teammate. I think.
Yes.
But yeah, so I mean, I think being able to take all of these amazing things, and it's really important to just reach more people that are interested once they come in, but making it more accessible.
Yeah, and I love that you have prioritized like the physical and the digital, and making sure that they're sort of married. And I think that's a huge component that a lot of businesses miss, right? Is that they do kind of one or the other. And it's really clear, like, this is the standout and then this one's an afterthought. But I think one of the things that you've built into the business is that both are really kind of robust. And I think that's, every business can kind of take a note on that.
Yeah, and I think it's really hard and it's a lot of work. But again, just talking about the way that we behave as a society and as consumers in 2023, especially in the U.S. and in the West, it is about the digital component. So that is really vital, really crucial. Again, data aggregation and understanding who your customer is and how they behave. But then on the flip side, it's still being able to have that physical location and that physical interaction, because especially post-COVID, people want that touch and they want that interaction where they can feel the product, experience the product. So yeah, I think it's not about like, oh, we're only e-commerce or oh, we're only brick and mortar. Yeah, just to really stress that point, I do think that there's a really important marriage of having both in a really strategic way. Like Warby Parker is a good example. There's a lot of what are called digitally native brands that started off, they only were selling online, but then what they were doing was aggregating data to understand where their customer was, and then they understood how important it was to also have a physical location. So again, just taking those risks, but also, like we were saying, having those bumpers so you're actually being able to make informed decisions and just marrying everything together.
Love it. What are your asks for our viewers?
I think sharing, like we said, social media is still primarily we activate on Instagram. For the benefit of everyone right now, I'm not on TikTok, but maybe one day we'll have someone else run the Local Maverick.
Gen Z, yeah. Us millennials should stay away from it.
Stay away from it. But no, I think just social sharing, regardless of the platform, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's emailing people, Instagram, whatever it is, because again, the idea of this is that it is something that we want to kind of spread like a positive wildfire in a way that, idea spreading where we're just sharing it with the other person. So social sharing, but also talking about it with other people. Because like we keep saying, most of the conversations that happen are still offline, regardless of the digital world. So sharing is huge. Coming into the space, obviously. So coming to the events and experiencing it firsthand. So just take the time to come in here. And then if you are someone who invests in small community businesses, give me a call and give me some money. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I love it. What's your email?
It'll be linked in the description. Yeah, it'll be right here. I can't wait till this video is published and there's
nothing
there's nothing that's going to happen. Yeah.
That's ideal. Yeah. Okay, awesome. Final question. What is Making Mavericks?
Yes.
And this is,
great question,
I believe, the first of many.
Yeah, this is a kickoff. So thankfully, no one will have to hear from me too much going forward. And I do want to state that the point of Making Mavericks is kind of the point of Local Maverick, where what we're trying to do is, I thought it was important to be part of the first ones because everyone's like, what the hell is Local Maverick? So now
hopefully you can listen. The question.
Now you can listen to however long this talk is if you're actually interested. But really, like we keep saying, we want to be a storytelling tool. We want to be a mechanism of sharing and sharing these amazing stories, because I don't make any of the products. Like what I'm doing, I think it's easy, right? I want to try and share the amazing things that people are doing. And then it's not just me. Like we have so many people that have helped along the way, and highlighting those stories and those people, I think, is what's most vital and crucial to the growth of everything. So Making Mavericks is kind of a spin-off of a speaker series that we were doing with the city of Burlington, just to get beyond. We're still going to be featured in Burlington and highlight Burlington businesses, but Making Mavericks is a series to highlight Vermont entrepreneurs, artists, and business owners, to be able to, again, just give them a platform to share their story. So we're going to be featuring at least one per month, where we'll have a guest speaker or two come on and just talk about their story and what they're doing, and give people the opportunity to hear some of these stories that you may not hear as often or ever, and just trying to be another outlet and platform for people to share their story. So
awesome. And they can subscribe on YouTube?
So we're going to start posting all of these to YouTube and really almost be like a video podcast series. So we'll still share it on, through a video clip through our newsletter and then on Instagram, but the full video. And we'd love people to start subscribing to our YouTube channel and really build this out as
right here.
Yeah, right. Like and subscribe. And so some of the speakers that are coming up, Alex from Vermont Marshmallow Company. So she didn't pay me to keep talking about her.
I know, right?
So then, by the way. And then we have Kelsey Rapp and team members from Upstate Elevator Co. and Green State Dispensary, because they're doing some really amazing, cool, innovative stuff. And then the list will continue to go on, but we'll have the current owner of Appalachian Gap Distillery, the owner of Homegrown Jewelry, and we just want to keep trying to feature really cool people that are much more interesting and smarter than me, and people will love it.
Not that hard to find.
That's right.
And so local Vermont, Burlington-based businesses that want to be featured on Making Mavericks, could they reach out to you and get featured?
Yep, you can go onto the website. We have a contact form. I'll never look at it, but you can submit it there. No, but that's the best way. Just submit it there. Also, anyone who's interested in selling products, sponsoring, because again, with our background, and we do have a team, a network of people that we work with from a marketing service standpoint that we fold into our events. So just any way, shape, or form that you want to get involved with what we're doing, just reach out on the contact form on our website. Again, if you message us, as a caveat, if you message the Local Maverick Instagram, it's a really good chance it gets lost. So yeah, contact form is the best.
Contact form's great. All right, love it. Thank you for your time.
Thank
This was
you.
great. I finally understand what you do.
Oh my goodness, after 3 years, at least someone does. Everyone else can be like, wait, so he likes talking to people, or like he likes food?
This guy.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Cool, but thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you.